Next speaker will be Nurse Guendelsberger from FCC of USA. We will get the FCC perspective on paving the ways for 6G and beyond. We will get presentation from recorded video. Please.
My name is NESE Guendelsberger, and I work at the U.S. Federal Communications Commission. I would like to thank the Ministry of Science and ICT and the 6G Global Organizing Committee for inviting us to participate in the second 6G Global 2021. I am honored to speak with you today and share our perspective on paving the way for 6G. Next generation broadband connectivity is rapidly shaping the 21st century landscape. The future belongs to the connected. No matter who we are or where we live, we need access to advanced communications networks to be successful in this environment. The United States has accelerated efforts towards facilitating next generation connectivity, including 6G research and development. At the FCC, we aim to remove regulatory impediments to let the market and the industry drive innovation and investment in next-generation connectivity. Other U.S. agencies are working closely with the private sector on research and development. For example, the National Science Foundation, NSF, has a number of initiatives to fund early research towards 6G and enable experimental exploration involving the wireless ecosystem. In February, the FCC signed a cooperation agreement to support NSF's Spectrum Innovation Initiative to provide subject matter expertise to help ensure that investments in spectrum research, infrastructure, and workforce development are in alignment with U.S. spectrum regulatory and policy objectives, principles, and strategies. The United States has also strengthened strategic collaboration with like-minded allies at the highest levels. At the US-Korea summit in May, for example, the leaders of both our countries jointly committed to foster competitiveness and innovation in 6G and develop open, transparent, and efficient 5G and 6G network architecture. As a result, US and Korean agencies have signed agreements to carry out joint 6G research. US industry players are key drivers in all of these efforts. The ATIS NextG Alliance, a private sector-led initiative, is working to develop a national 6G roadmap, which will address standardization, development, and manufacturing and market readiness. Universities are also teaming up with industry on efforts like the new 6G at UT Research Center at the University of Texas at Austin. The FCC has re-established its Technological Advisory Council, TAC, with a new focus on looking beyond 5G and conceptualizing 6G. The Advisory Council will study advanced spectrum sharing techniques, implementation of artificial intelligence and machine learning to improve the utilization and administration of spectrum and other emerging technologies. The FCC has also opened up unlicensed and experimental use of frequencies between 95 gigahertz and 3 terahertz, enabling test beds for next generation services. Our experimental licensing rules have long provided a terrific platform for innovation. Experimental licensing allows researchers to develop and test wireless systems without the cost of getting a commercial license. Earlier this year, the FCC created 2 new innovation zones for program experimental licenses in designated areas near 2 universities, the NC State Innovation Zone and the Northeastern Innovation Zone, and expanded the geographical boundaries of the previously established innovation zone in New York City. Clearly, active stakeholder participation through an open, transparent, and collaborative process is a key component of the FCC's work. This philosophy continues to guide us as we look ahead to 6G. Other key elements include a light touch regulatory approach, flexible technology-neutral rules that provide regulatory certainty, and fact-based data-driven decisions. We also need to promote diversity, equity, inclusion, and accessibility while safeguarding the safety and reliability of our communication networks. These principles underpin our work towards the FCC's strategic goals. The promise and possibilities of next-generation technologies like 5G and 6G will prove critical in advancing all of these goals. Even as we pave the way to 6G, 5G remains an essential part of unlocking next-generation networks and technologies, from the Internet of Things to telemedicine to virtual and augmented reality and more. We need to leverage the best practices and lessons learned from 5G in order to usher in 6G and beyond. At the FCC, we are focusing on 5 principles for delivering 5G that is fast, secure, resilient, and available everywhere. Let me detail some of these, starting with spectrum. We are freeing up high, mid, and low band spectrum, balancing both licensed and unlicensed uses. In high band spectrum, the FCC has made around 5 GHz of millimeter wave spectrum available for licensed terrestrial wireless services, and we have pending proceedings examining additional bands for flexible use. With respect to mid-band spectrum, the FCC has granted licenses in the 2.5 GHz band to address tribal connectivity needs. We have reallocated the 3.45 to 3.55 GHz band for flexible commercial wireless use and also brought the 3.5 GHz band into commercial use through an innovative dynamic spectrum sharing framework. And in the 3.7 to 4.2 GHz band or C band, we have auctioned 280 megahertz of spectrum for flexible use. Unlicensed spectrum will also be important for next generation services. In addition to opening up frequencies between 95 gigahertz and 3 terahertz for unlicensed and experimental use, the FCC made 1200 megahertz of spectrum in the 6 gigahertz band available for unlicensed use, which will usher the Wi-Fi 6, the next generation of Wi-Fi, and play a major role in the growth of the Internet of Things. In addition to new terrestrial licensed and unlicensed uses, we also recognize that space-based services will contribute to the next generation communications ecosystem. We have taken actions to facilitate the deployment of space-based services, easing the path for the rollout of next generation networks. We are also working more broadly to ensure that next generation networks are widely deployed. Throughout our 4 Universal Service Program, the FCC provides support to increase broadband availability in rural areas, among low-income consumers, in school and libraries, and to serve rural healthcare needs. Programs like these are helping ensure that everyone can have equitable access to the benefits of next-generation technologies. It's important to build a more secure and resilient next-generation communication supply chain for our near future, 6G and beyond. Open and interoperable equipment is the future, and we are taking actions to ensure that Open RAN technology is being built now. The FCC innovation zones are actively engaged with the Open RAN development community and are expected to extend Open RAN technology development further. In addition, we are taking direct action to speed the way for trustworthy innovation and collaborate across government, with industry, and with partner nations to protect our networks from all threats. These efforts will increase security, drive down cost, and help build a bigger market for secure next-generation equipment. Our experience in rolling out 5G has demonstrated that wireless policy, from the need for spectrum to the vulnerabilities of supply chain, is fundamental to our economic and national security and prosperity. We now have an opportunity to learn from what came before as we start thinking seriously about how we can better position ourselves for success with 6G. Let me emphasize how important for us to work together with friends and allies in the global arena on setting the technology standards of the future. Cooperation and collaboration in international standard development processes means more innovation at the international scale and broader support for the democratizing possibilities of access to advanced communications. We look forward to working together to set out on a smart course for the next generation wireless technology. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam NESE Guendelsberger, for your speech on the strategy for paving the way towards 6G in North America. I believe that FCC role is very important, including the experimental license for study for higher band. And I forgot to mention that she served as Deputy Chief of Intellectual Bureau of FCC.